All right, my friend. So now we're having a very quick overview of the PMP exam, and I'm trying to get you to really own, I need you to own the syllabus, to feel dominant and comfortable about these domains. So we're going to start off with the people domain. People domain has how many tasks? Who remembers? Shows me how much Kool-Aid you've been drinking if you remember the number of tasks.
14.
Fantastic. Who said that? Was that Victor?
Yeah.
Victor's been on it. Good job, Victor. All right, so let's take a look. The very first thing is about conflict. So you got to be a facilitator. To succeed on the exam in this area, you got to see yourself as an open-minded person. You could be using any of these techniques. CAPM students need this as well. So if you've forgotten avoid, smooth, compromise, force, problem solve, and what those mean, yeah, you need to go to, I believe it's page 349 in PMBOK and take a peek and try and remember those. The next thing for PMP, you got to understand how to lead a team. Your mindset is going to be, I'm a situational leader. I don't lead with draconian rule. I don't lead with carrot and sticks. I'm a servant leader. I understand the importance of a social contract, team contract, and the Agile Manifesto. Then you also need to have a mindset of appraising and supporting growth, being productive as far as feedback is concerned, not destructive, because there's productive feedback, there's destructive feedback, and you could get questions that try to find, do you know how to give your team feedback? Are you able to make it situational depending on the circumstance and the team? Then we talk about empowering the team. Only secure leaders give power to others. So let your team make mistakes, give them autonomy, give them support, empower them, and bestow that decision-making authority on them. Some bosses, they don't want their people to make decisions. How are they going to grow? I'm going to keep them in diaper and bubble wrap them all their life. No. Number 5 says ensure adequate training. Again, this is one for CAPMs too. By the time you're ready, I should be able to ask anyone, PMP or CAPM, in which process of the 49 do we ensure adequate training? Or do we deliver the training? Do we ensure the people are being trained? Does anyone know the answer to that? Out of the 49 processes, which one is dedicated to people development? I just gave you a clue. Okay, it's called Develop Team, and it's in the resource management knowledge area. So you got to know your processes well so that you can keep track of everything the PM is meant to do. All right. The next one is build a team. That's a no-brainer. In this one, you got to remember the 5 stages of team development. The next one is remove impediments. Anything that could impede the team. You as the Scrum Master, or as the exam is going to kind of twist the language, the exam could say you are the project lead. Same thing, you're a servant leader. Next one says negotiate agreements. So you got to understand the boundaries of whatever is being negotiated, and you got to go in with a strategy and participate in the negotiations. You could be negotiating for money, you could be negotiating team conditions, you could be negotiating schedule. The PMI wants you as a professional to be able to negotiate trade-offs. We call them trade-offs. So it's not always going to be black or white. It's going to be hazy sometimes. Going to be a lot of gray areas. PMI wants you to negotiate that stuff. Then we have collaborate with stakeholders. So this is really the managed stakeholder engagement process disguised, because this is where you're collaborating, working with stakeholders, building trust, and so on. And then we have build a shared understanding. Make sure that you're seeing eye to eye, that you are on the same page. If you're not on the same page, get on the same page. Get to a common understanding. We're not even talking about agreement first. We're saying, let's understand together. Apples to apples, same page. When you are at that point, you can then talk about consensus. And consensus doesn't mean everyone must agree. It just means, what is the way we are going to make a decision as a team? Do we want over 50 must decide, or do we want complete unanimity? Everyone must decide, unanimous decision. Or do we want something else? Do we want dictatorship where one person decides the course of action? That's not agile, but it exists on some teams where one person decides, the boss decides. So you got to understand which vehicle you're using to get to consensus. Number 11, virtual teams is a no-brainer. Virtual teams is here to stay, right? Since the crazy pandemic, especially. Then we have ground rules, right? Team contract, social contract. You are going to get questions that put all of these into situational language. So this one, it could be, you are a servant leader working with a team. Meetings are unruly. People are talking above each other. What do you think should be done to help this situation? A, have a meeting with the team and tell them they're not behaving like professionals. B, punish the team. Maybe rewards or recognition may inspire good behavior. And then you can have C, give the team a reward for behaving well. All of those are wrong. Those are anti-agile. The best answer would be to have a team contract or social contract, something like that. Number 13, mentor stakeholders, look for opportunities to mentor people across the firm. And lastly, beware of emotional intelligence. Be able to bridle your emotions and be able to influence the emotions of others. So that's the people domain. The process domain is probably the more notorious one. And this is where you need to be all over agile and all over predictive in the technical language, right? So you got to know Scrum. All that stuff that I taught you, both CAPM and PMPs, about prioritization of your backlog. Who remembers? How do you prioritize a backlog? Who can give me maybe one or two parameters for prioritization? Who remembers?
The sprint planning? No.
So that is an event. That's good. That's an event. But what I'm looking for is, if you were a product owner and you need to prioritize the backlog, how would you prioritize it? What are some of the things you would do? Not events, but just you working on your own. If you're looking at a backlog and you're, which one comes first? Which one? How would you go about that? Anyone remember?
I'm thinking, would we look at the risk?
Good. Risk.
Risk and value.
Good. Now you're talking value and then risk. Exactly. Value and then risk and then other things. Talk about size and complexity. You're getting it. You're getting it. Well done. Well done. But of course, as you said, the sprint planning is where we would actually choose what we're going to do in the next sprint for sure. This is where we as individuals pull the stories to ourselves, but the prioritization should have been done, hopefully, prior. Okay. What is the event, though, that is not a formal event that we actually do some prioritization work with the product owner? What's that event called?
The backlog refinement.
It's backlog refinement. Very good. Who said that? Uche, well done. Good, good. Backlog refinement. All right. So let's go full steam ahead. So manage communications. Let me just make a newsflash. When PMI says manage communications, they're not just talking about one process. Manage X in this whole outline is really code for just know the whole knowledge area. So this one is just saying, know everything to do with managing communications in the world of agile and in the world of predictive. So you got to remember plan communications management, manage communications. What's the last one? Who remembers the last one? Plan communications management, manage communications, and then what's the final process?
Control communications.
You're close. Monitor, you got it. Monitor communications. Very good. Then we get into risk. I give you one, you give me one. Plan risk management. What comes next?
Identify risks.
Good. Perform qualitative risk analysis. What comes
After qualitative, quantitative, and plan risk responses.
Oh, you took the cake away. Well done. Plan risk responses. So let me give you the next one. Implement risk responses. What comes next? You
After
Manage risk
implementing, yeah,
responses.
we monitor risks.
Monitor is the word. Well
Monitor.
done. Well done. Teamwork makes the dream work. You folks are good. You're on it. Well done. You nailed it. This is exactly what I need you to do. And see, Firuz, you're not even doing the PMP. You're right there with everyone else. So well done. Exactly. Let's move to the next one. So stakeholder management is really what this is talking about. It's not just the engagement, it's everything. So I give you one, you give me one. Identify risks. What comes next?
Identify stakeholders. You said
Oh, I'm
that
sorry.
risk.
You're right. Thanks for the correction. Identify stakeholders. I give you double points for that. So I go for two. Plan stakeholder engagement and manage stakeholder engagement. Very good. What's the last one?
Monitor stakeholder engagement.
You are on it. So Farouz, can you dump page 25? It sounds like you can.
Yes, already done.
Woo, well done. Awesome. All right, number 5, budget and resources. So let me give you a couple from cost. Plan cost management and estimate cost. What comes next?
Determine budget.
Good.
After determining budget, we
Just think about your 5 process groups. Which process group are you now in towards the end?
we are in planning when we determine the budget.
Then you jump across to
To controlling.
and
We control the costs.
you got it. That's exactly how you need to think about it. Now, in the world of Agile, who can tell me cost and schedule, are they flexible or are they fixed? Which one? In Agile, cost and schedule.
They are fixed.
You got it. You are on it. You've been doing some really good work. Awesome. So I won't go into resources. We'll leave that. Schedule management, we'll kind of skip that. I'll give you the high level. So in schedule, we plan schedule management, define activities, sequence activities, estimate activity durations, develop schedule, and control schedule. You see why I need you to know these processes so that when you encounter these as a PMP student, you're going to look at this and say, oh yeah, I know everything this is talking about from top down. See, so this is why I really need you to know page 25. Let's move forward. This next one says plan and manage quality. So what are the 3 processes in quality?
So plan quality management.
Good.
And then manage quality.
Good.
And monitor quality.
What's the last one? Come on now. Come on now. You almost got it. You almost got it. Quality. What's the word? Is it monitor or is it control?
Control. I'd say control.
Well done. No, it happens to the best of us. You corrected me. So well done. Good, good. All right, let's move on. We go into scope. We have, who remembers the 6 processes of scope? What are the 6? Let me go for it. Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So plan scope management.
Good.
Define scope.
Good.
After defining scope, collecting requirements. After that,
you got it. You self-corrected. I love it. So plan scope management, collect requirements.
Define scope, create WBS.
Good.
Validate scope, and then control scope.
Good. And I know that you didn't just know the names. I'm sure if I asked you, Firuz, explain to me, what do we do in create WBS? Tell me, what is a WBS? Can you just give me a quick idea?
WBS is when like we decompose, we use decomposition to divide the work into work packages.
You're good. You're good. I know you've been working. That's fantastic. Very good. Okay. She's hitting the nail on the head. I know you're going to be ready very soon. And a great planning just means integrate the subsidiary plans, manage project changes, is really speaking to performing integrated change control. Can anyone explain to me, in the world of Agile, how do we manage changes? Any comments on that? How do we manage change in an agile environment? There's no hard and fast rule to how to answer this.
We can do the sprint review.
Good.
The,
Good. That's a very good suggestion. A sprint review is where you can get feedback that helps you understand if anything needs to be changed. Fantastic. That's the beginning of it. So I'm not looking for you to run the whole 1500. I'm only looking for you to just get a running start on the first 10 meters. And I know that you're going to be okay, because you should be able to speak to it. You should be able to say, we manage change in, and think of an event. So she said sprint review, and that's a very appropriate place. But if she had mentioned retrospective, it's not wrong to say we make a change to our process in the retrospective. It wouldn't be wrong. Or if we said we tune and adjust in a daily scrum, they're right on the money. So I just need you to at least begin. That's really what this is about. Okay, very good. Plan and manage procurements. There are 3 things in procurements. Who's going to help us this time?
so plan procurement management, conduct procurement, and then monitor procurement.
Is it monitor?
Control procurement.
Oh, you got it. Fantastic. You are on the money. We're speaking the same language. I love it. This is the level that I need everyone to be at, to be able to just look. Farouz has not even ready for the PMP just yet. She's just done what I asked, page 25, and you're all over page 25. You understand PMI's universal language. You're going to be laughing all the way to score bank, all the way to the bank of questions. You're going to be laughing. Number 12, manage project artifacts. There are 3 artifacts in the world of Scrum. Can anyone mention them?
Backlog.
Good. Product backlog, 1.
Sprint backlog.
Sprint backlog, very good. PSI, what does that stand for?
Shippable increment.
You got it, Victor. Well done. Yeah, those are the 3. And in the world of predictive, we have a boatload of these artifacts on page 89. Can anyone just casually mention any artifacts that come to your head from predictive? Could be a document or a plan or baseline. Any ideas?
Scope baseline, costs baseline, and schedule baseline.
Fantastic, good. Any other ones as far as plans? Which plans do you have in project map?
Plan scope.
Scope management plan, good. Which other plans do you have? All the knowledge areas, just throw the name in there. X management plan. So scope management plan. Come on.
Integration management plan, scope management plan.
Scope management. You got it. Now PMI invented that word just last year, integration management plan. There was not an integration management plan before, but they put it in the CAPM outline, believe it or not. So well done. You're getting the idea. Scope, schedule, cost, quality, resource management plan, so on and so forth. All right. You're really doing well. Great job. All right. Determine the methodology. Now, when they say that, they mean that you need to assess the needs, complexity, and magnitude. When would you use an agile solution on a project? Just casually give me an idea of when you would use agile versus predictive. When would you use agile? You can start off with, I would use agile when dash. Come on now, you got it in you. Come on, come on.
When the scope isn't.
Say that again.
When the scope isn't like it's not certain.
Yeah, you got it. Exactly. When you're far from certainty about scope. Well done, Victor. Awesome. When there's requirements uncertainty that's high, you're on the money. Good job. All right, let's talk about number 14, governance structure. So what is governance? You can explain it with other words. Can anyone just give me an idea? What is governance? Just throw some words at me. What's governance?
It's like the framework when we do the decisions and when we control.
Wow, my goodness, where you getting that from? Where you getting that from? Where did you get that from?
But sometimes I use also the lexicon.
You are right on the money. She's very correct. Governance, we have a word framework associated with governance. It's a framework within which authority is exercised, but she's also very correct in saying it's a framework in where we make decisions. And I was just looking for some casual words, but you gave it to me perfectly. Well done. So we got to be aware of governance. Number 15, managing project issues. There's a difference between an issue and a risk. What is the difference? Issue versus risk. Which one
Impediment.
could happen? Say that again.
An issue is an impediment.
Good. We could use the word impediment. We could use the word blocker or obstacle. Good. And then what about risk? What is a risk?
Where an impediment could happen.
Exactly, when an impediment could happen. Brilliantly put. So a risk is an impediment waiting to happen, as Roy says. A risk is not yet an impediment, but if you don't do anything about the risk and it does materialize, then it's an impediment. So you got to understand that dynamic. Just two more. Project continuity. In order for the project to continue when a team member leaves, we must all be on the same page. There must be knowledge transfer. I often joke about a big project I was working on with this well-known pharmaceutical company out in Indiana. If you're in Indiana, everyone knows this company. But the contractor that brought me and my buddy Colin in to do the WBS breakdown for this big pharmaceutical state-of-the-art project, there was one guy in this vendor company that knew everything that everyone else didn't know. One guy. And I'm like, if heaven forbid he gets hit by a bus tomorrow, that's millions of dollars gone because you're relying on one person. That's not project continuity. So my advice is follow what PMI says, all right? Ensure that there's knowledge transfer. That's number one. Discuss responsibilities and approach knowledge transfers with intentionality. Make sure you actually schedule knowledge transfers. Last but not least, manage project or phase closure. Page 123 in the PMBOK 6 is your friend for this one. You got to determine the criteria for closure even before you get here. You should validate a readiness for the transition. Like, you got this deliverable, okay? Can you transition it to the customer? If so, when? And lastly, conclude the activities to close out. When you're closing out the project or phase, you got to make sure all the necessary paperwork is done. You got to make sure that the deliverables that you are expecting from your vendor were actually supplied. You also need to make sure when you're closing out the entire project that you look at your results and ask the question, why do we have the results we have? Why did we do so well? What makes this project so wildly successful compared to project Y that failed? So there could be a final report. And then we also do what we call regression analysis. It's a tool and technique of closed project or phase. And it just means you're looking at the results and trying to figure out, why did we get the results we got, good or bad? All right. And the final area is just a no-brainer. This is what we do all day long in a business. We manage compliance. All right. Any business will tell you, if you're not managing compliance, you're in trouble. You know, if you're not managing compliance to the likes of the FDA and you're in food and you got rats, roaches, and mice running around your establishment, I assure you it's going to be shut down very quickly. So talking about compliance, we can relate to it. We got health compliance, you know, OSHA, FDA, we've got Americans with Disability Act, we've got PCI compliance, we got SOX compliance, Sarbanes-Oxley, the list is endless. So this is one area project managers must have down pat. And then we have codes, you know, and I know our friend Uche will be familiar with codes and building codes and all that stuff. And that takes us to number 2, evaluate and deliver project benefits and value. So you need to identify in this project we're doing, what are the benefits? So if you haven't read page 7 in the PMBOK guide 6, you should. CAPMs, you're not exempt. You need to know page 7 because that breaks down what a benefit is. And it breaks down tangible value and intangible. So you got to know page 7. And you got to also understand page 33 in PMBOK 6 because it tells you about the benefits register or benefits management plan, as it's called in full. Every project, especially those that have benefits to realize many months in the future, it's not the project manager typically who's going to be managing those benefits. There should be a different person called a benefits owner. So this sensitizes you to that. Number 3, evaluate and address the external business environment changes for the impact on scope. Look at what's happening in the business environment. Look at what's happening in the environment itself and be able to adapt and pivot accordingly. It reminds me of a company that was going to build this huge facility back in 2020. COVID hit and they had to scrap it. It made sense. You look at what's happening in the environment, not only the external environment, but also the business environment. Based on the business environment, your product backlog could change, your project could be scrapped, so on and so forth. I'd also recommend knowing when a project is going to be shut down unexpectedly. What should you do? Well, you should look at where you stopped and take an account of the artifacts or deliverables that were so far produced and have some formal documentation that puts that stake in the sand as far as this is where the project left off. If it ever comes to being again, this is where everything is. This is where we got to, the extent of our progress. Final thing, we have support organizational change. And this is just make sure that you know how your project affects the firm, how your firm affects the project. Look for allies. If your project is making monumental change, no one's going to be clapping for the project, I can assure you. But you can make it better by having allies at all levels. And this is really what this is saying, support organizational change, assess the culture. You got to know your people in the firm, right? Evaluate the organizational change, evaluate the impact of the project, determine required actions, and also the impact of the project on the firm. Like one of the companies I worked in, they were going to implement SAP, and people were wondering why they hated it, SAP. Of course, they hated SAP because there are a lot of these folks from the 80s that were in this company. They've been using that big old blue screen. You know those blue screens, the mainframe looking screens? They've been doing everything from earned value and schedule and costing on the blue screen. So when management said, well, we're moving away from the blue screen, they got mad because they knew the blue screen so well. That's their bread and butter. That's job security. Now you're telling me you're bringing this GUI? Of course, they were hit with a lot of resistance. And management had to power up and say, look, if you don't move to SAP, you're going to leave the company. You'll be the one to move, which wasn't nice. There are other ways that we can do that. So supporting organizational change just means we are being proactive to set the tone, the pace, the comfort level to help people understand this is for you, it's not against you, and we're going to work with you to move into our future state, whatever that might be. That's the summary of PMP. And to be quite honest, in so doing, we hit a ton for our CAPM friends. All right, so my recommendation to you, I know Uche asked this question last week. I really want to make it clear. If you want to knuckle down and get to next level for your PMP, you got to read the immersion book. You got to junkie up on it like a junkie, right? Play this thing PDF on Edge, listen to it round the clock, and take the questions. That's going to be your next move. Those questions. tackle all the questions in the book. Start getting into the question zone. All right, I'm going to share with you my PMPs. I'm going to share with you some stuff that I need you to do. So let me put that in the chat. I would like for you to take the people and the process tests at a minimum. I'm actually going to excuse those who need to go into the discussion room. So, oh, sorry, wrong chat. Let me do that here. Okay, so let's see, who are our PMP friends? So Victor and Shona, they're working on PMP. So let me go ahead and we can have our breakout. So let me make it clear. If so Victor, are you going to be able to participate in the discussion, or do you need to kind of like jump off? Let me just stop the recording.